Let's take a look now at how to form groups and how to ungroup things, and also why that's important. Now, we already talked about how to use layers, and we talked about the stacking order and how to select things. But sometimes you want to have certain elements that are of a similar nature, for example, a whole bunch of stars, the same color, so that you might want to create a group that contains elements that contain the same thing. So if you have a layer full of leaves, or a layer full of sand, or beach balls, or marbles, or something like that, you might find it easier to have them all as a group so that you can manipulate one object and in turn manipulate all of them at the same time. So that was a whole bunch of explanation for something very simple, but I'm going to go ahead and quickly show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to once again use our good friend the stars. I'm going to draw out a couple of stars like so. Alright, so we're drawing some stars for a client. The client thinks it's a great idea for us to have a whole bunch of green stars. We're thinking to ourselves, it's going to be something the client's going to call me on the phone and ask me to change, and you know this. So for me to change the color of one of these stars, I have to click on the star, change the color. So I'll go ahead and change this to blue, click on this one, change it to blue. Now, of course, I can also just drag select and go up here to where the question mark is, and you'll see that there's a question mark now because in this group we have blue and green, so Illustrator doesn't quite know what we want to do. So we're going to go ahead and give it a color of blue, and now the question mark goes away. So we can always click and drag select things, but you know what? If you have a lot of different things going on, it could be quite a pain, especially if your client also wants you to resize everything at the same time. So what we're going to do is, with these guys all drag selected, I'm going to go back to the object menu. I'm going to choose group. The shortcut is Command or Control G depending on the platform you're on. Now these guys live together in one group, which means if I click on one, I grab them all, no matter which one I click on. This also means that I can now change the colors of all of them, and I can change the strokes of all of them. I can change the strength of that stroke or the width of that stroke at any time. I can also scale the whole group at one time, and of course if I held down the shift key they would remain their proportion. And I can also rotate. So I can rotate these guys, I can stretch them, I can squash them, because they're all in one group and they're treated like one object, which is very, very handy in lots of instances. But what happens when you no longer want to have everything as a group? Just simply go back to the object menu and choose to ungroup them. Now when I click on the object, they now live on their own again. Now you also have the ability to lock certain things, and you don't just have to use the layers to do that. So I can go ahead and drag select all these stars again, go back to the object menu and choose lock, and I can choose to lock this selection. Now I can't manipulate it. Now this is pretty important to remember because there's been many times in the past where I've forgotten that I've locked things, but fortunately I knew where to go. So I can take another object now and I can draw on top of it without affecting those stars. I'll go ahead and change the color of this, give it a different color stroke, and I can simply manipulate this object and move it around without ever worrying about grabbing those stars. When I want to unlock things, just go back to the object menu and choose unlock all. And now the stars and everything are ready to move around. And that is how you can group and ungroup and lock the elements that you create inside of your pasteboard. Don't forget, you can also lock things here by clicking on the lock icon. And once again, I can't manipulate the objects in this particular layer.